Hi, how are you? I want to explain to you about an intuitive mentorship. This is something that I created about 3 years ago for people who wanted to hone in on their intuition. It's like intuition on demand. Now, intuition is that knowing that we all have, and it seems like it happens spontaneously, but intuition is something that is in the right side of our brain. It's an ability that nobody really ever teaches us how to hone. And so I started realizing as a physician that I knew things about people with no explanation at all, a nanosecond before I knew their name or anything else. I would know things about them. And this happened when I would meet somebody in a clinical rotation. I started realizing it in medical school that I just knew things really quickly, and I didn't even know what it is. And then as I went along, I started realizing that if I just know somebody's name, I can tell qualities about them, about their health, about how they feel about things, about their money, their relationships, their spiritual path. So this is something that is really useful to help other people, but also to help yourself to be able to tap in and have confidence. So, with an intuitive internship, what happens is that you learn the 5 steps to be confident in your intuition. First, you have to learn what is intuition versus what's going on in your imagination. Are you just imagining it? Or is it something that's real? And so, step number one in the preparation of this is to have some exercises and some teaching as to how you actually grasp it and then be able to do it and get some feedback on it. So, step one is preparation. So, you start knowing the difference between your intuition and your imagination. Step two is to have some type of procedure that you can go through really quickly to be able to do this for yourself and for other people in all types of areas. And so there are multiple ways that you can tap into your intuition. And in the second process, which I call the foundation, you learn several ways to tap into your intuition. For instance, one way is in health, you can use a chakra system to tap into that, or you can use a traditional Chinese medicine system. But also to tapping into intuition, you want to think about someone's balance in life. And what happens with that is you're going to look at the 5 areas of balance: health, money and finances, relationships, your career and life purpose, and also your spirituality and personal growth. And you can tap into each of those areas to see into and feel and touch and hear and sense um, information about yourself, access that information, and information about other people, but only if you want to. There's a way to do that. And then after that, it's the getting more practice using those different ways and figuring out what your particular strategy is that works well for you all the time. So in order to do that, you got to practice it and get some feedback so you can figure out, well, how do I hone this even more? After you do that, it's about communicating it to yourself or something else. Step four is about communication. And you're like, okay, I got this information now. What do I do with it? Or how do I talk about it? And when we talk about it, we want to talk about it in a way that's accessible to ourselves and to other people. When you're working with other people, it's especially important to speak their language. So you want to learn how to tap into what is their language so that you actually help them and they won't think you're just wild and crazy. And so intuition is one of those things that people have made, ooh, but no, it's a part that we all have. And what happens is when people think it's ooh, it's because you're not speaking their language and you're saying words that they don't get and using vernacular. It's like I'm an eye surgeon by training. If I start using high level eye surgery language with you, ophthalmology language, you'll be like, well, what exactly is she talking about? And that's the way intuition has come. People use all this kind of, esoteric, unreachable languages and words that doesn't tap into and connect and resonate with 95% of the world. And so communication is extremely important. And then the fifth step is learning how to create actually a care plan with your intuition for yourself and for other people. So, and then there's also, after that, there's higher levels. And when people work with me longer, we start to tap into other ways of doing this in practice and doing advanced techniques. So, for instance, um, I have had people tap into what labs tests they think people should get and why, and then what the results will show. And then lo and behold, pull it out and say, here's what lab tests were gotten, and here's exactly what they show. There are ways to tap into the universe of the universal knowledge. What I'm talking about is not something that doesn't exist. It's for most of us, we are living in the quantum physics world, but we're not aware of it. And because we don't talk about it all the time, we think it's just weird and strange and bizarre. And then when we meet people who either do quantum physics or they do intuition and spiritual stuff, they're speaking languages that are a lot of times inaccessible to us all. So in an intuitive internship, it's learning what your particular language is for yourself, how to communicate it, how to practice it, so that you really get confident in it. Now, what does the first part of this take as far as time and attention? It takes 7 weeks to get this. Okay. I have it divided so that we have step number one is a quick start to get you started on the pathway of doing this. And then each week we have a session. Takes about 45 minutes to do a session with you and I, either as an individual or in a group. And you learn a technique, you practice some things, you ask questions, and you keep progressing on. You do go through the 5 steps, the 5 modules, week by week, and then there's a wrap up and what's next. And in the wrap up, what's next, which is the 7th section, is the time where you figure out what is your particular spiritual blueprint and how are you going to use it more. Now, what happens is in the first part of it, it's a taste of it. And I've meant for this 7 sessions to happen within about 8, 9 weeks. Sometimes we need a week off because schedules clash and things happen. All the sessions are recorded so that you can go back and listen to them. You'll have an audio recording, a video, as well as a transcript that you can go back to. And in addition, I give you worksheets that are yours permanently to use that you can download and practice these different techniques. And when you want to work with yourself and do some intuitive lessons, there's a sheet that you can write on and keep a journal with it. And even when you want to work with others, you can write on a sheet. If you're a therapist or a clinician, these are the type of sheets that you can actually put in with a client chart. In my advanced classes after this, we actually talk about making this into an offering for you. You have a spiritual blueprint offering in you. And so after you learn how to access it for yourself and be confident in it and some steps in it, then you're going to think about, wow, this is really fun. Now, how do I use it? How do I offer it to people? And that's what we do when you decide you want to work with me further. So a little bit about what it is to work with me in an intuitive internship. What happens is it's about helping you find what feels good for you. This is not about making you a mini me at all. It's about helping you find your spiritual and intuitive language that will help, first of all, you get further in life. And then a lot of times these are gifts, talents, skills that you can use to help others, whether you do that just ad hoc in your family to help other people, or you actually do it as a profession because there's so many people out there who are looking for this. having confidence, having languaging, having ethics surrounding this. I talk about that with you in this first part so that you don't give people false hope or they don't think that you're a fortune teller or, you're doing something magical. You have to be completely honest about what you can and cannot do. And then later on down the line, if this is really something that you enjoy, distance movement of energy so that people can heal in their life, in their health, and in other areas of their life is something that this area of intuition can be used for. So there are so many infinite possibilities that you can do with your intuition, and it's such an untapped area now. So send me a note, Veronica at drveronica.com, if you have more questions after watching this. I really look forward to guiding you on your pathway to mastering your intuition on demand.